Man, I just started recording and I already have to take a piss. So episode 7 of Invincible Season 2 has come out on Amazon Prime, and man, this one felt like it came out a lot faster than the last one. I'm pretty excited to talk about this episode because a lot of plots get developed, a couple even get wrapped up or, seemingly wrapped up, but either way, I'm really excited to talk about what happened in this episode. And just before we get started, I want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you for helping me hit 900 subscribers before the end of March, right in the last week of March. I mean, by the time you're seeing this, it's the last day of March, so you'll probably already know, but seriously, thank you so much. It honestly means the world to me. And now that we've hit the 900 mark, you all know what comes next. So if you enjoy my content and my just general style of video, then please consider dropping a sub if you haven't already, because we're going for the big one. We are going for the big one. But with all the self-promotion and gratitude out of the way, let's talk about this episode of Invincible. The episode opens at Comic-Con, and I think that's actually, it's super fitting somehow. I mean, it's a superhero show, and it opens in Comic-Con. That's perfect. And seeing all of Mark's reactions to people cosplaying as him is just, really funny. The two of them get in line to go meet the creator of Seance Dog, which is that comic Mark is obsessed with. And there's this great scene when Mark is talking to the creator where the creator talks about animation for a comic book show. He talks about how they can cut corners, how they can save budgets, and how they can make the fight scenes really good. And as he's talking about some of the methods they do, wide shots with no one moving, but because they're so wide and detailed, you can't tell that nothing's animated, as well as sometimes the show going in a completely different style, and then it's a close-up on Mark's face, and it's in this anime style. And I thought that was a great self-aware way to sort of talk about the general ins and outs of animation. I thought it was brilliant. And the writer of the Seance Dog comics even says, pay close attention in Season 2 because we do a lot of that stuff. And a lot of the methods he talks about also happen in Invincible Season 2, which I think it was great. It was just a great scene. It was brilliant. And as they're wandering about Comic-Con, Mark gets a call from Eve, who is like, hey, Rex just decided to ditch the hospital and go on a mission all by himself. Please go help him, because I'm worried about him. And it was cool to see, A, Eve, showing concern for Rex now that he's matured as an individual, and B, I finally get what I've been wanting. An Invincible Rexplode team-up. A short team-up, but a great team-up. They're just dealing with some generic bad guys breaking into a nuclear power plant or something like that. And there was this moment where Rex was sort of talking to himself and what he was gonna do, his plan. It was just such a Rexplode moment. It was just great. Then when Mark shows up, he's like, all right, I'll help you out here. And then Rex was like, no, go take care of those guys. Let me take this guy. Please, let me have this. And Mark was like, all right. And then they finish him off, and it was just great because they worked so well together. They both understood each other super well. And then after the fight was over, Rex called in the agents, and then the two were on their way out, and they were having a little bit of a bro talk. They were having a bro talk. Invincible and Rexplode, two people who used to think very little of each other, are now decent. I wouldn't call them good friends, but they got each other's backs. And I called it. I was so calling it about them having each other's back in a fight. And they talk about Rex asks about Amber, and Mark's kind of it's not really working out, and Rex did Mark the hugest solid ever and was like, you know what, you pick a day, any day, and I'll make sure the Guardians have you covered so we don't need to call you in. That way you can be with your girl. And that was so great to see. I want to see more of Rex and Mark in the future. Now that they've both grown and matured as characters and just as people, they're going to work so great together, and I really hope we get to see more of them. Speaking of Rex and the Guardians, though, over at the GDA, Donald learns that it wasn't Cecil who erased his memories of when he died. It was actually Donald himself who made the decision. And apparently, he learns that he had died 39 times, I think they said, and has been brought back that many times. And, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty, big revelation, I guess you could say. But it's, it kind of devalues when Cecil said in season 1, when Donald died in the surveillance house, it kind of devalues when Cecil said the honor was all mine. You can tell that Cecil had some genuine man, I just lost a really good soldier. It kind of devalues that a little bit since Donald has already died a bunch of times already. I don't know, maybe since it was Nolan, Cecil just thought he was dead for good. So really hard to tell, but it's not that big of a deal. I can give it a pass. This isn't the last we see of Donald in the episode, though. Later on, Rick, the guy who's seen Claire turn into a cyborg, is trying to commit Sudoku on himself because he just can't stand the trauma anymore. And he's losing his mind pretty much. William calls Donald and is like, Mark's not picking up his phone, no one's answering, I didn't know who else to call. And it is fate that no one else would pick up because Donald was like the only good option of person that William could have called. Because after all, Donald had just learned that he is the one person who can actually relate to Rick in what he's been through. And they have a really good talk about how it's not your body or what you are physically that counts. It's the choices you make and the people you love that are worth remembering. And I think that was a really, really well orchestrated scene. And, just because they're cyborgs doesn't mean it can't apply to the rest of us. It applies to all of us. It's not really about what we are or anything like that. It is our choices and the people we love. That is really what counts. Anyways, getting back to Invincible. After having to ditch Amber at Comic-Con, Mark goes home and talks to his mom, and they have a little sit-down on the stairs out back, kind of similar to how they did in Season 1. So I thought that was, I don't know if that was an intentional callback, but if it was, it works out perfect. Mark asks about his mom's relationship with Omni-Man, and Debbie was pretty much just like, it was thrilling, it was fun, but Nolan was never really around, and she wasn't sure if she could call it a relationship if she was all alone all the time, because she said she was very lonely. So can you really call it a relationship? So Mark finally gets some time to spend with Amber. No earpiece in his thing, not wearing his costume under his clothes, anything, and they're having a great time. And it was actually a very cute scene. I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Usually I'm not big on relationship scenes in that sense, but I actually really enjoyed it. And as they're sitting down having a bite to eat, this Viltromite woman lady comes out of nowhere and puts her hand on Amber's neck and is like, you're going to come speak with me or I'm going to kill everyone here starting with her. And it was actually horrifying. So Mark agrees. He goes and gets his costume and his earpiece to let Cecil know what the hell is happening, as he should. Definitely the correct move. And she's essentially there to check on his progress, like how the General Clancy Brown, the Viltromite, said how that would happen. And Mark is pretty much like, no, yeah, humanity's not perfect, but we have to make our own choices. We have to be free to do what we want. And to be fair, the Viltromite lady brings up some excellent points. Our leaders harvest the planet's resources for greed and not worry about the future. Thousands of people are killed every day in cold blood, and she brings a lot of major issues to light, which is a very absolute way of looking at things. And she does bring up some valid points, but you have to take things one step at a time. You can't just conquer the planet and fix it all at once. It's not how it works. But Mark is the big boy he is, and he defends Earth and why it should be left alone down to his last. And there's this scene where this kaiju is attacking a boat. Kaiju's just a normal occurrence. Oh, yeah, just going on vacation. Oh, man, you worried about a kaiju coming out of where? No, it's fine. That only happens in comic books. And then one happens. That's what this world is. That's how the world of Invincible is. But the Viltromite lady person goes to accompany Mark to see how strong he is. And Mark kind of gets his ass kicked a little bit by the kaiju, and she just kills it just by flying through it. And then it's kind of like, oh, you saved all these humans. If you love us, if you love life so much and love fixing lives and saving lives, then why, come conquer us and force us into submission? That's just the opposite of what you're saying. So their argument gets a little violent. You could say it gets a little violent. And similar to what Omni-Man said when he had his fight with Mark, the Viltromite lady was like, how dare you interrupt your education? Yeah, violence is a great teacher. Yeah, fantastic teacher. Definitely isn't teaching you any better. No, great teacher. Best teacher. And as Mark is getting the shit kicked out of him, Cecil is saying it through the earpiece, like, just say you'll conquer the planet, just say you'll do it, so she'll leave. And Mark refuses. He's like, no, I will not let them think that is what's happening. I will refuse to even lie about it, because Mark is just that moral of an individual. And as Mark is at the Viltromite's mercy, he's just like, do it. You need me, you don't need me, make up your mind, which was a very hard statement and a very bold statement to make in that kind of position. And she doesn't kill Mark, surprisingly. I mean, obviously, we still need Mark. There's another episode of the season left. He can't die yet. But she doesn't kill him. She leaves, and she's like, another will come soon. Don't try to stop us, blah, blah, blah. Evil Viltromite speech, flies off. Then Cecil teleports in, helps Mark up, and is like, you really rolled the dice on those words, my dude. And Mark was like, it's not just words. And Mark's 100% correct. It's not just words. It's about taking a stand. It's about showing the Viltromites who the people of Earth really are and who Mark is. He's not a Viltromite. I mean, biologically, yes, he is a Viltromite. But as an individual, as a person, he will never be like them. And he was standing for that. And that was a great moment for his character. Cecil admires Mark for this and actually gives him a smile. And can anyone tell me when the last time you saw Cecil Stedman, director of the GDA, smile in any of these episodes? Cecil doesn't smile. That's not something he does. Either way, after that, Mark goes to check on Amber, make sure she's okay, and... well, the inevitable finally happens, and with the threat of death literally just behind her, the two of them have their, what I assume is their official breakup. Now, one side of me is happy because this is a segue to Mark getting into a relationship with who he should be in. I think you all know who that is. But the other half of me is like really sad for my boy because he did really care about Amber and he did really like her. But with the way she is and, you know, the way she thinks about like morals and ethics and who Mark is, a superhero, it just really doesn't work between the two. And it was a mutual breakup. They were both crying their eyes out and they were both sad about it, but it's just the best thing for both of them. I'm pretty sure this was their breakup. I mean, I can't imagine it's anything else. Still, I feel really, really bad for Mark this episode. He gets beat down physically, emotionally, and we're not even at the end of the episode yet. But the episode ends with Mark getting a call from his mom, and when he picks it up, he hears a voice he doesn't recognize, and he's like, who is this? And who but Angstrom Levy is holding his mother and his little brother hostage, and he's like, when are you coming home? So, wow. What a cliffhanger. Mark's family is now at the mercy of a literal gigabrain interdimensional traveler. So that's going to be for an interesting finale. And then our post-credit scene, oh boy, I'm excited about this one. Alan willingly gets captured by the Viltromite Empire to end up in their science prison, which means he's finally going to meet Nolan, which I really hope we see in the next episode. Also, that final scene with Alan, he has a showdown with the same Viltromite lady that Mark fought, and Alan got punched in the jaw, and he was like, huh, that hurt way more last time. He probably could have beat her. He fakes getting knocked out. He really could have beaten her, I think, but man wanted to get captured. He was on a mission. And that was Invincible Season 2, Episode 7, and man, this one, if I were to pick one word to describe the entire episode in its entirety, it would be intense. This episode progressively went from, like, you know, pretty general standard Invincible stuff, like in terms of tone, to more intense and more intense and more intense. Mark just kept getting beat down and beat down and beat down, and man is literally at his lowest point. And not lowest point as like a character, but he's at his lowest point in that his life is literally falling apart around him. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. This episode was fantastic. So many plot lines coming to fruition and beginning to actually have a significant impact. Mainly Angstrom Levy. He felt like he kind of was the star of the first episode of Season 2, but then he kind of like vanished for the most part. I mean, I get he's an interdimensional traveler, but his plot line kind of vanished, and I was expecting it to be a bit more prominent throughout the season, but I guess they want him to be a major villain. He kind of felt a little bit like Thanos in the sense that he appeared in a lot of post-credit scenes or just really small scenes. So now that he's finally here, it's like, destiny is here.
Or should I say, I am.
Either way, Mark has gotten beaten down so hard, and I can't wait to see how he's going to come out of this. I mean, I know he's invincible, but no one really is. If you enjoyed this video and my general style of content and how I talk about stuff, then be sure to drop a sub. We're going for the big 1,000 at least by the end of April. That is my goal. We're going to try and hit 1,000 subs before April is over. And if we don't make it, that's okay, but I really want to make it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And if you want to show that little bit of extra support, then consider becoming a channel member, like the names you're seeing on screen right now. What amazing individuals. Not only does it directly support me, but you also get a whole bunch of cool rewards like early video access if you pick the right tier, exclusive emotes, member-only community posts, all sorts of stuff like that, even an exclusive Discord channel to talk in, which is currently under development, but it's getting there. But yeah, consider becoming a channel member if you want to show that little bit of extra support. Thanks, everyone. But that is going to do it for now. I can't wait to see the next episode, and please leave all the comments you want. I'd love to do some more back and forth about the show. It's a lot of fun. I've been having so much fun responding to comments, so please leave as many thoughts as you want down there. But that's going to do it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.